What is really better than sex? Sorta similar to this. I had a septoplasty surgery a year and a half ago to correct a bowed septum. After the surgery they put in stents and you have to live with stents in your nose for a week. Have you ever experienced complete 100% blockage of your nostrils? This doesn't come from a stuffy nose. My nose was completely blocked. When I swallowed, instead of air escaping through my nose, it pushed into my ears and my ears popped every time I swallowed. I could taste absolutely nothing. I would eat my meals from one end of the plate to the other, because it all tasted the same to me. And then I got the stents pulled out. Talk about instant relief. Imagine your nostrils going from 100% blocked to 100% clear in a matter of seconds. I was blown away and called my mom immediately after the appointment to express my joy in that moment. Any of all got a deviated, bowed septum? Invest in a septoplasty. Recovery is rough, but it's so worth it. My boyfriend hit his face on the back of a guy's head while whitewater rafting and ended up having one of his front teeth going backwards to the point he couldn't close his mouth. Had to call over 15 emergency dentist offices on a Saturday, and only one answered and could get him in when he got back in town in about an hour or so. He said that was better than sex. He also is still annoyed that apparently emergencies don't happen on weekends. This was about 2 years ago. Edit. He also was calling around 10 or 11 in the morning. Like a call with your boss that you aren't ready for. I had that happen to me. I was going to tell my boss off and quit. Then the next morning I got a call from the regional manager telling me my boss was fired and I would be taking over his responsibilities on a temporary basis. I ended up getting that position permanently. I attribute that meeting being cancelled to all of my professional success over the last decade. I had a job offer rescinded after putting in my resignation for my current job. For about a week, I was legitimately terrified. The feeling when I was offered another position was incredible. Just a huge load from my shoulders knowing I'll continue to get paid every 2 weeks. Makes my first thought of unclogging your ear seem small in comparison. My husband's job realized they were hemorrhaging mechanics because they were the bottom on the barrel when it came to pay in our area. They gave the ones they still had a $5 per hour raise to get them more competitive. Somehow my younger daughter figured out the pin for the on-demand on our basement TV and ordered $95 worth of episodes of her favorite show, which we have through a streaming app but that TV doesn't stream. 6 months ago I would have been in tears when I saw that bill. I'd have to figure out what goes late, but because of the raise, and the fact that he averages 100 hours/check, so this has been a huge raise for us, I felt mild annoyance. Since he's gotten his raise we haven't had a late bill. I paid my car off early. We're starting to save, and I've been able to reduce my anxiety medication because so much of my anxiety was triggered by money issues and now I don't have that. My blood pressure is down. I'm not at buy everything I want levels but I'm comfortable for the first time since I was a teenager. I'd hate giving up sex but I'd do it to guarantee this feeling forever. But I'd do it because I'm pretty sure it's extended my life. Edit. RIP inbox. I've never seen this many notifications in such a short amount of time. Thanks for the rewards, kind internet strangers. But I encourage you to funnel your money, if you are able, into programs fighting for better pay for people and for those fighting for healthcare for all. More people should have financial security. So there was one time in Chicago where I was babysitting someone's animals. I got paid literally what my job would have paid me for the entire week, so I was down for it. I went to a bar, Exit. It's a pretty cool punk bar with a motorcycle in the place and chandeliers covered in bras. They were playing Ant-Man on a few silent CRTs while punk played from the overhead speakers. When I got up to go to the restroom, I noticed it was packed, so I decided to walk back to the train station. By the time I got there my bladder was about to burst but I couldn't find a bathroom. I waited for the train but it was taking too long and would take me a half hour to get back to where I needed. I ended up leaving the train terminal in search of any sort of bathroom. I tried at the subway, no public restroom, tried at the Walgreens nearby. Nope. I found this heavenly place near but called Juaritos. I told them my plight. and the dude at the register told me if I buy something he'd let me use their employee bathroom. I already planned on doing so, but that sold me even more. I ended up ordering a chicken burrito, so while they were making it I zipped to the bathroom and never had a more orgasmic, wonderful, religious experience of a bladder voiding. I let out the biggest sigh of relief out that I could. On my way out I tipped whatever was in my wallet and grabbed my brown paper bag with the burrito in it. Connection. When she's actually also your friend. When you can goof off and be silly, laugh for real. You'll know it when you're somewhere, see something and laugh not because you think it's funny, but because you know how she'd react if she saw it. Same from her to you. Also cuddles, specifically in the colder seasons. Quitting a job you hate. I had been working a high-stress job where I was putting in 70-80 hours a week. Getting a new job was hard and needed the pay to keep supporting my family. Finally giving my notice and being done felt great, but weirdly, the greatest feeling was walking into a Target on a Tuesday around 2 p.m. after working every day and weekend for 6 months with absolutely nothing to do. Unbelievable release. I played in a small-time original hard rock band for about a decade. I remember doing one gig in an area where there were 7 clubs with a joint cover, so people could come and go as they pleased. The band before us was awful. They cleared pretty much everyone from the club. When we went on there was like 10 people there, most of whom were with us. We started our set and the place was pretty empty. So I kinda just stopped paying attention to the floor and just kinda closed my eyes and got lost in the songs. I looked up about 4 songs in and the floor was about half full and people were into it. Before the end of the set, the place was full to the back and the crowd was having a good time. It was very surreal. After our set a couple came up to have us sign their CD they bought at the show, and they told us they had driven from Montana to Seattle to see us. I think that night was the highlight of my entire stint with that band. All I ever did was lick a little off my finger at a concert one time, and holy guacamole, it replaced her and surpassed all of the affection I was ever missing. Felt like I got straight A's, delivered my own baby, watched it graduate college, and hugged a puppy X2. In 30 minutes, I felt a lot of love for others, which was familiar, but feeling loved by everyone was staggering and dangerously new and satisfying. I never touched it again, and the binge-druggy friends and people I comped with were fucked in the morning, jaws chattering, dejected, and behaving like they'd lost something, rummaging and panicky. It really shaped my theories about substance use replacing what you're supposed to work to receive socially. Like an overpowered cheat code that renders a video gaming unchallenging and ruins the experience. I'm 10+ years sober now. I noticed people who had healthy attachment styles dabble in stuff like NTMA, but for me, an avoidant attachment style, the potential reward of one iota crumb of affection motivates me to discipline myself 24/7 towards goals at work and being an ideal family person. I know if I opened the cookie jar back up and got into drugs I'd probably lose everything I have worked for with my house and work reputation, which a part of me that I try not to listen to knows are trivial and meaningless constructs that I project importance onto to make do and settle myself. This right here. So many people will say money doesn't buy happiness, and there may be truth in that. But, as a lot of my problems are caused by lack of money, everything except my wages increase with inflation. Being rich would certainly get rid of a ton of my problems, which would lead to me being happier by default. Oh, please give me the chance to prove that being rich would not change me for the worse. I promise I would donate more to charity, I would volunteer with, and adopt animals and do more to help others. I'm not materialistic and I'm not bothered with brand, designer names. I just want to know that I don't have to ever worry about money, about having enough to pay a bill or anything like that again. It's your Friday, and you're done with work. You've got a quaint-smelling candle going. It mixes perfectly with the petrichor coming through the open windows. It rained earlier and is about to again soon. Look to your right and you see your partner and a cute doggo bringing in a pizza for a movie night. You don't finish watching the movie because all three of you got really fucking baked and fell asleep 30 minutes in. You wake up the next morning and realize that the pizza and ranch was put in the fridge so it's safe to eat again that evening. So, sometimes when I'm especially high, it's like my bladder goes on break. I'll have to pee and I'll go try but it's like no. So I stand there for like 5 minutes and finally it'll come back from break and at that point it feels like an orgasm, but for the duration of the pee. This happens to me every time after anesthesia too, but they always lose patience and run for the catheter. That's not as good as sex. Real moments of serenity. For me, the only time I find much serenity from the constant waves of COVID PTs is in my hiding place. My particular hospital has a fairly old and outdated 6-bed dead overflow unit. As far as I can tell, it's completely abandoned, but still has an old working fridge, charting area, small kitchen, and most importantly, no visitors. COVID has at times felt like it was trying to quite literally break me mentally. There's times I've lost over 5+ COVID PTS in the span of less than 4 hours. That quiet abandoned dead, it's my rockin' sanity. It lets me just lay my head back and breathe in complete and total quiet. What a different pleasure than sex. You have no idea how much those moments helped my mind keep itself from shattering from some of the horrors that the Delta variant has brought. If we think about the diversity of answers we're seeing here, it's pretty much a statement that sex is highly overrated. Sex seems to be that hyped up thing that those that never had it want it so bad, but once they get it, it's like oh, that's what all the fuss is about. And then, not to look stupid, they keep the hype train going. Sex is in a perpetual hype train. I believe you only need 2 things in life. Pussy and chicken. Simple. You can swap it for whatever gets you and which food you like. After drugs. This is the closest to a dopamine rush. Of course you need safety, security, stability. But chicken and pussy is my end goal. Humans are still animals. Our problem is thinking we are not. We made it too complex. Just being happy. Being seriously content with your life. Having a good lifestyle, have lots of healthy relationships and people in your corner, being able to live with chronic mental or physical illnesses, and doing so with pride, not being racist or homophobic, or hateful at all, living in the moment, doing your best to ensure that this happiness will be with you forever, or as long as possible, being a decent human being even behind closed doors. That's better than sex. That's better than the vast majority of what's out there in this huge yet so small world. I had been living my whole life with fucked up airways in my nose along with a host of other problems in there, always struggling to breathe through my nose but used to breathing through my mouth mostly. I got surgery for it done, in which they put splints in that blocked my nose somewhat. So when they took the splints out and I breathed through my nose not even fully healed and clear, I started to tear up. I didn't even know people breathe through their nose like that. It's so easy. I'm gonna go against the grain here and say that farting and shitting is decidedly not better than sex. But as to what is better, this one time I did ecstasy. It was unreal and I've never felt that kind of pure joy as an adult. But the next time I tried it didn't really do much. Money, enough money, more than enough money, every single aspect of your lifestyle covered with wiggle room for emergencies, major payments, no debt or regular reliable repayment of debts, a retirement fund, etc. Nothing comes close to the satisfaction and power of having more than enough money. Doesn't mean you're rich, it just means everything is covered. In theory, Walter White needed $737,000. That was modest. Based on his teaching salary, realistically, I think he should have upped that amount to about $6 million, and if he had quietly hit that mark, he could have gotten out and his family would have been more than covered. They could pay all his medical expenses, his wife would be covered for the rest of her life, his children's educations would be covered, Junior's medical bills would be covered and both Junior and Holly would get some starter cash of around $200–300K apiece for their own adult lives. It takes a lot of money as a regular everyday worker, wage slave, etc. It takes very little money in terms of wealth to be set for life. That discrepancy is bizarre, but yeah, without money, everything else is a distraction from the stress of money. With money, everything else is just life. That said, when I was much younger I kinda enjoyed poor person sex. I liked the idea of sneaking into a girl's bedroom with her parents in the other room or downstairs or whatever, and I liked having car sex in a quiet cul-de-sac, etc. because those were your only options. I think it's a valuable rite of passage to have to do that stuff because it makes you appreciate the other things more, and it signifies a particular stage of life when you have nothing and you want everything but you have no recourse, so you just improvise with what you have: a bedroom with a window, or a car. One time, I got a shit ton of chigger bites all over both my feet, and oh man, that shit itched like hell. Nearly unbearable. Now, I'm no masochist, but scratch that itch, and I mean scratching, like digging my nails deep into my foot and just dragging them along my feet, was one of the most pleasurable feelings I've ever experienced. For like a week I knew what it was like to be a Cenobite from Hellraiser. I don't think I'll ever intentionally get bit up that bad again, but by God that feeling was irresistible. Not a goddamn thing. I have had enough money that my assets were triple my debts. I have been married and loved and done so many of the storybook bullshit things. I have loved my family, immediate and extended. I have been in great shape, like squatting 450, running a 615 mile, and throwing up 210 on the bench. I have fought and conquered my enemies with my fists and with my mind and voice. The only two things I have not done are have a child and beat a terminal illness. I can tell you unequivocally, none of it compares to the sharing of bodies and hearts with the intent to consume one another in bliss. The periods of time where I don't loathe myself and spent every waking moment filled with doubt and anxiety. I can't even describe how it feels when I'm in a headspace where I'm happy with myself and not constantly grinding my teeth about something which ultimately doesn't matter all that much. Those days are like I have absolutely won at life. I think I'd abstain from sex for life if I could guarantee feeling that way all the time. And my GF is really hot. Getting your ears suctioned. I had a middle ear infection a few years ago. Ear was blocked up, full of gunk and super itchy inside, and I was deaf on that side and I could not shift it. GP gave me antibiotic ear drops. They did nothing. They then sent me to the hospital to get it suctioned. Took 3 sessions, but when they finally cleared the blockage, the sensation was infinitely better than any orgasm I've ever had. Seeing my parents being proud of me or making them happy, joking with my colleagues at work, drinking with my friends. But I try to stop drinking. Fulfilling your own goals. I stopped eating meat, for example, but it's kinda hard to talk about it because people like to look at you like an alien when you tell them dancing like a maniac, getting a haircut after a long time. When I was younger, I had a bump on my neck. It didn't hurt, and it didn't feel like anything. I barely recognized its presence, but one day I noticed a tiny hair and I thought maybe it's ingrown, hence the bump, so I grabbed some tweezers and began to pull. And pull and pull, and it kept coming and coming. Once I had about 2 inches out, I started to feel this insane euphoria, and I pulled faster. In the end, it was about 5 inches of the super thin hair, and when it finally came fully out, I had to go lie down. It was like an orgasm, but 10 times more intense and entirely in my head. I'd love to feel that again. I had a really bad ear infection a few years back. I have never felt pain like it and had to sit in A&E for 8 hours because they didn't think the pain was that bad, until they looked in my ear. They was surprised I could still hold my head up. They gave me morphine, lots of it. That feeling of being in so much pain to literally a dull pain and a floaty feeling in minuets is a feeling I both want to and don't want to experience again. Not much. If we being honest, sex is the most powerful drive in the animal kingdom, and humans are no different. There are things that come close, but I guarantee you, whatever other things get posted, If you were standing there given an opportunity to get late or do whatever else they suggest, sex wins. There are those moments when the weather is right and you're driving. Maybe you just got something new, or got good news. The windows are down and the music is a vibe. Everything seems to fall into place. Later in the day you're going out for dinner with family later or going to the lake. Driving by yourself and everything is just perfect. You're genuinely happy.